Hi. So let's today focus on Palo Alto Prisma Access. But before start with the Palo Alto Prisma Access, let's understand the typical challenges we have in the traditional network. Okay. The first challenge, perimeter is now everywhere. Second, traditional MPLS and IPsec VPN. Third, traditional design for the remote access VPN. And of course, the last but not the least is a traditional security design, typically the security stack. First, perimeter now everywhere. Here is the example. We have a SaaS application, we have a public cloud application, we have a branches, we have a mobile user, and we have a centralized data center. Everything is centric towards the data center. But why it was said that perimeter is now everywhere? The one reason, global distributed workforce post COVID, right? And the way now the business going towards the cloud, right? Or cloud adaptations, workforce is a distributed. Cannot decide the your endpoint or your user location is very difficult to decide whether it is a office user, whether it is a roaming user, whether it is a mobile user. And there are several touch points where user is going to connect. It could be your cloud application, on-premises application, your SaaS application, or maybe from branch to data center application. These are the challenge, right? Because everything is through the data center. Then, what is the challenge with the MPLS and IPsec? Of course, MPLS is costly, expensive. IPsec is cheaper, right? Over the internet, we can have the point-to-point, site-to-site VPN. It's cheaper, but it's leading towards the lots of overheads. Both the solution again here dependent on the data center. For example, I have a user at the Bangalore and at the Delhi, and they would like to access the internet. So again, the traffic from the Bangalore and Delhi route through the data center where I have a security stack. Could be the extension firewall, web proxy, IDS IPS, DLP, or maybe your CASB solution where you can enforce the security. But again, it is centric, data center centric. Okay. Example, now there are some traffic or workload between the Bangalore and Delhi. What I will do to avoid a latency, I will go for a MPLS. But again, it's a costly. It's a private link as good as private link, but somewhere I'm compromising the security. If I want to impose the security between the Bangalore and Delhi over the MPLS link, I have to go for the firewall. I have to go for the IDS IPS, right? So that I can inspect the traffic. Again, this is a challenge. Okay. Because again, I told you, right? First challenge, right? Related to the, we don't know where is the exactly user and their workload. This is another challenge. Next. Traditional design, right? For the mobile user. For example, my business very specific in the two region. One, India, Mumbai, and maybe in the Singapore. My mobile users spread across the India and across the Singapore. So what I will do, I can have the two VPN gateway, one at India, one at Singapore, right? But if I want to expand my business, maybe in other region, there I have a many users, right? Those are connecting my application, data center application. What I have to do, I have to configure the or implement a gateway locally in that particular region. So it's very difficult to manage the consistent policy, user posture, and it will lead to high network cost. Okay. Now, whenever my user connect into the data center, I have to enforce the security policy. I have to restrict their access, permit their accesses, right? And again, it is depending on the user. I'm not sure where is the user. If it is a mobile user, it could be in Singapore, or maybe next day that user she and he will be in the Mumbai. We really don't know. So consistent security policy one of the challenge when it's come to the traditional design for the mobile user. Next, traditional security design, everything through data center. Okay, but nowadays the approach is little bit changed. Okay, what is the approach? If I am sitting at a branch retail location and my destination is data center, I have to go via MPLS to my data center. If my destination is internet, I have to go via web proxy and I will go to the internet. Okay. If I am the mobile user sitting at the office, sitting at the home, right, remote user typically, if my destination is a SaaS application, again I have to pass my traffic to the CASB or the proxy to protect, right, my SaaS application. These are the challenges. So it leads, number one, non-agile operation. What is non-agile operation? Means if I want to onboard a new branch, there is a dependency on a service provider. If I go for the ILL link, internet lease line, or MPLS, again it's time consuming, right? It's not very easy to onboard the branch. Then inconsistent security posture. Why? Posture cannot enforce the same security policy at a different devices. Difficult to manage. Then high operational cost and complexity. Of course, because there are management overheads and everything ultimately lead towards the poor user experience, right? Because of all this, who is suffering? Of course, end user. Perfect. So, how does Palo Alto overcome all these situation, right? So, typically branch, mobile and the home user having their touch point. It could be public cloud, SaaS, internet and data center. These are the typical touch point. So what Palo Alto does, they have added Prisma Access 2 layer. One, network as a service layer where endpoint will get connected. There is another layer, service security as a service layer where endpoint traffic will get inspected. So Prisma Access combine these two layers together. Okay, then it reduces the complexity and it will combine all your security stacks in the one layer, right? So how I will connect it to the Prisma? I have a multiple option. Number one, SD-WAN or traditional IPsec VPN. There are so many other options we'll discuss later. Once I connect it to the network as a service layer, then my traffic will get inspected by all these security services. Example, I subscribe for firewall service, ZTNA, Cloud Swag, Secure Web Gateway, then CASB, DLP, IoT and RBI, Remote Browser Isolation. In short, if my source is branch user trying to connect my data center, the traffic will pass through my security layer where I can enforce the security policy. I have only one console to plan, design and implement my all security policy. Clear? Let's go in detail. What I will get under the security as a service? Number one, under security as a service, I will get SSL decryption. Why? See guys, you have to enable the decryption for a deep packet inspection. If you want to inspect your file, if you want to recognize your few application, you have to enable the decryption. Then next, user identification. Why user identification? Nothing is based on the source IP address. Everything based on the user. If I am a roaming user, I am connecting to the my branch WLAN, and from I am accessing my SaaS application or maybe data center, I will have a different IP. I am moving to home, right? And from my home network, I am connected to the VPN, I will get a different IP address. So my identity should not get changed. I will have a same state of access whenever I accessing my application, my data center resources, it should be the same, right? App ID. Nothing is on the port number, TCP UDP, everything on the app ID. Threat, wildfire, zero-day protection, URL filtering, then Cortex XDR, Prisma SaaS, and then Enterprise DLP. These are the services, security services. I will get it in the security as a service layer. Of course, swag is there. I will tell you, right, what comes under swag, what comes under DLP, what comes under the your threat, everything. Now, there are several ways to connect your network services. In my earlier slide, I only showed you the SD-WAN as well as the IPsec, but here is the different ways to connect. One, Prisma SD-WAN, right? You can implement the Prisma SD-WAN for your branch network, and you can route your branch traffic through SD-WAN and branch traffic through SD-WAN towards the Prisma Access. IPsec VPN. If I have a firewall at my branch, simply I will configure the IPsec tunnel between my branch and the Prisma Access. Again, it's a regional. SSL VPN, generic SD-WAN, Colo Connect, direct connect, right? There are service provider can provide a Colo Connect service. Then, of course, clientless VPN, remote access VPN or clientless VPN. So basically, Palo Alto has combined both the layer, right? But who is monitoring the user experience? I told you, right, few minutes back. Ultimately, because of traditional network, who is suffering? End user suffering, right? Who will take care of user experience? Palo Alto has announced, or Palo Alto has one feature named Autonomous Digital Experience Management, right? It will check the end-to-end connectivity between the user and their touch point. Example, SaaS application. Okay, so ADGM, we'll see it later, not now. Next, what comes under the firewall as a service? So typically in the firewall as a service, you will get next generation firewall for deep packet inspection, layer 7 inspection means app ID, access control, you can enforce the security rule, right? Then you can have a threat detection and prevention, anti-malware, anti-spyware, antivirus, vulnerability protection, you can get it over here, and all other security profile, right? Like file blocking, like DLP, right? For content filtering, you can get everything through the FWAAS, firewall as a service. Next, what do we get under ZTNA, right? ZTNA monitor the sanctioned and the non-sanctioned your private application or SaaS application. It will help you to detect the malware and the threat, sensitive data visibility, then data detect the improperly stored data on your SaaS file repository. Example, Dropbox, Box, OneDrive, right? It will help you to detect the improper storage data. Then under Cloud Swag, Secure Web Gateway, you will get URL filtering, SSL decryption, application control, and the threat detection. Next is your DLP. Oh, my bad, sorry. Under DLP, what you will get? Data loss prevention, right? Typical DLP policy you can enforce between your endpoint SaaS application, your on-premises application. IoT device also you can protect. Remote RBI, remote browser isolation. So guys, I'm telling you, there are so many use cases, right? You can achieve through the security as a service layer. In short, right, Palo Alto has combined security as a service layer and a network as a service layer together, and top of that, they have now ADEM, user or autonomous digital experience management. to experience to calculate, or I can say to review or to analyze the user experience. Okay, in our next session, right, we'll more talk on the Prisma Access components. Okay, so in that video we will cover location, compute location, then your explicit proxy location and other concept. Thank you so much. Bye bye.